We're going to get through this. Because I know my dad would want us to be strong. First of all, I want to say thank you to Randy and Rusty for the beautiful entrance music. Brad always loved to listen to you guys play. You just lit up his life when you played. So I think it was very fitting that we have you guys here today and at the barbecue later today. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Hi. Welcome to our tribute of my dad, Brad Day. It is so heartwarming to see all of you guys here and how many friends and family and how many lives he has touched. We appreciate that everyone took time out of their Easter weekend to come and help us celebrate my dad. As you can see by how we are all dressed, we decided to make this exactly how Brad wanted it, a casual affair. So the ceremony is not going to be our normal ceremony. We're just going to be lighthearted. We're going to celebrate Brad. We're going to share some amazing stories that we have of Brad. And true to my dad, we are dressed in casual clothes just like he wanted. He said he wanted to go out in shorts and a t-shirt. We gave him shorts and a t-shirt. So that's my dad. Excuse me. Today his memories will be shared through his children and music by his sweet little granddaughter Addison and by Randy, his son-in-law. And then we will end with closing remarks and a prayer. So I will be starting to talk today. Holy crap. I will be doing Brad's life sketch. Alma Bradley Day, Sr., 68, was passed away on March 29, 2021 in Provo, Utah. He was born on August 13, 1952 in Salt Lake City to Don Alma Day and Gladys Warfield Bradley. He married the love of his life, Jackie as we know, Schmidtke on September 17, 1971 in Sandy, Utah. Brad is loved by his family, loved his family immensely, and especially loved being a papa to his grandchildren. Their sporting events were his life. He loved being there and always cheering them on. He also enjoyed coaching. He enjoyed coaching and loved his family, softball family. He was a master craftsman, loved to fish and hunt, where he became known as Big Mom to all of his friends. And I remember that part. He was widely known for his papa belly and his huge, infectious papa laugh. He always put everyone first and never complained and was a father to everyone. He is survived by his wife, Jackie, his children, Kim and John Montague, his son, Brad and Rachel Day, his son, Aaron and Lachelle Day, and his daughter, Randy and Shay Lawrence. He has 16 grandchildren and one great-grandchild on the way in a short 14 weeks. His siblings are John, Janine Day, Hap, and Steve Bradley, Deb and Dave Matson, and preceded in death by his parents, his sister Connie Peterson, and his daughter Brooke Day. So my dad, as you guys all know, was an amazing storyteller. It is interesting, though, as we've come in these last few days, how he picked and chose which stories he would tell which child. And as each one of us gets up and talks, you will see that there were some stories that I had no idea about, and it was very eye-opening how mischievous my dad was at times. So, but you'll hear that in the upcoming talks. One story I remember very vividly was when he was little. My grandma and grandpa Day would pile all of the kids into the station wagon and would head across the country to visit Grandma and Grandpa Bradley in Virginia. Now keep in mind, this was before the interstate system was completed. So imagine all of them in a station wagon. It took 4 to 5 days. And as we all know Grandpa Day, he was a very frugal man. So instead of getting hotel rooms, they just kind of camp out in the station wagon and sleep in the station wagon and then just keep driving. excuse me, I couldn't even imagine. I mean, I only have 3 kids, and I couldn't imagine going across country with that. So that was patience there. These were the best times, according to my dad, except for the time he burned down his grandpa's barn. I remember he telling me he was 5 or 6 years old. I don't remember the exact age, but he was fascinated with matches. He was in the barn striking matches to watch them burn. He decided it would be a good idea to see how fast hay burned. He grabbed a small pile, put it on the floor, and lit the match. The hay, of course, burned instantly. But at that moment, his dad, Grandpa, called for him. So he grabbed a bucket of water and poured it over the hay and thought he had extinguished the fire. About an hour later, when they came back into the property of Grandpa Bradley and noticed that the barn was fully engulfed. At that point in time, they evacuated all the women and children and sent them to his aunt's house. My dad, of course, freaking out, ran and hid underneath the bed so that nobody could find him. But they extinguished the fire, nobody was hurt, but the barn was lost. About a week goes by, and it was time for them to start heading home from the vacation. They got to the car, and Grandma and Grandpa called them to the front of the car and asked him flat out, "Bradley, did you start that fire?" And true to my dad's words, he said, "Yes, I did." And so Grandma was like, "Okay, I think you've suffered enough, just don't ever tell your Grandpa Bradley." So that became kind of the secret, and that's the story that my dad told me. My dad was always getting in trouble with his Grandpa Bradley. One other quick little story was he used to go out into the watermelon patch and he'd pick up the watermelon, he'd slam it down on the ground and it would break open and he'd eat all the watermelon, which of course infuriated Grandpa Bradley. But now I know where his love for watermelon came, because I remember him laying down on the floor with a big old slice of watermelon and just digging into that watermelon in the summertime. So now I know that that watermelon love was, from the very beginning. My dad had a love of sports. He loved playing Little League Baseball, and as an adult, he would regale us in his stories and would brag about how many home runs he hit. But he always said that he hit the home run so he wouldn't have to run fast around the bases. So it was just easier to hit home runs. His love of sports carried on to his children and his grandchildren, and he taught all of us to persevere and to never, ever give up. When he was 17, he met the love of his life. He went to a get-together that was down the street from my mom's house at the time with 2 of his friends. One of his friends' name was Jed, and they were always in trouble. Always in trouble. Jed was a bad influence on my dad. But there they met at that time my Grandpa Schmidtke. Grandpa Schmidtke got talking to my dad and his friend and kind of asked how old they were, and they both said, "Well, we're 17. And he said, "Well," I have 2 daughters left for you to choose from. One's 15, one's 17. He says, "Let's take your pick." Coincidentally, at that time, Grandma Schmidtke had asked my Aunt Eileen and my mom to go and pick up my grandpa because he was drunk at the party. And when they got there, my dad asked, "Well, which one of you was the 17-year-old?" And Aunt Eileen raised her hand, and he's like, "Okay." Looked at my mom, and he says, "You want to go out?" So from there, it was, love at first sight. And from then and there on, they were inseparable. They were married a short time later, on September 17, 1971. October of 72, I was born. Brad Jr. was born in June of 75. Brooke came December of 1978. Aaron in November of 1980, followed by Shay in 1982. For 50 years, my dad continued to show unconditional love to my mom. He would move mountains if he could to show his love and devotion to her. My mom and dad are amazing examples of what true love really is. My dad worked hard his entire life. I remember him getting up really early and then coming home late at night. And he worked so many long and hard days and even weekends just to make sure that our family was taken care of. He always gave everything he had into all aspects of his life, whether it was in construction, coaching his children or grandchildren, or being a father and papa. He was a constant example of true work ethic. My dad had a very quirky sense of humor. No matter where he was, this was in these last 10 or 15 years, I think it was, but no matter where he was, he'd randomly just quack like a duck. And then he'd yell Aflac. So he loved the Aflac commercial, loved the duck quacking. And then he would just crack up laughing at himself. He thought he was so funny. And we just rolled our eyes, and it actually got kind of old after a while. But I will forever miss his loud, boisterous laugh. It was so infectious. John and I always loved going to the movies with him because when he laughed, it made the movie even funnier. And it made it that much better because we'd just start laughing because he was laughing. I want to finish by saying, gone, but never forgotten dead. You will be greatly missed. Please watch over Mom. And remember that we all love you. Okay, Brad, do you want to come up? Okay, when you're ready.
I won't keep you guys along with my sister. My dad wouldn't want that. Sorry, I had to write this down, guys. Kind of something I said to my father, something that I want all you guys to hear, just everything. My father, Alma Bradley, Senior, you have touched so many people in your life. We have all been truly blessed to spend time with you. You have been an inspiration to all of us. You are the most honest man I truly know. You're always there for anyone in need. That's my life. You're the best role model a son could ever ask for. You taught me so many things to make me a better man. I will cherish every moment that I had with you. All the fishing trips, all the hunting trips, seeing you across the baseball field as you're coaching third, throwing signs up when I'm on first. Even all the times I didn't want to go to work in the rain and snow. You say, son, you're not made of sugar. You're not going to melt. Or the time you said grandpa when we were fishing. The motor fell off the boat. Grandpa went down with the motor. And all I remember is Dad grabbing me by the back of the pants and pulling them both out. That guy was a special guy. One of my favorite memories of you was when you picked me up from school to go hunting. All I wanted was my BB gun and my dad. You are the best grandfather and papa to my children and all the other grandchildren. You've always loved them with all your heart. Thank you for always taking care of us. And have brothers to carry on your name. I will love you forever. Your little Mo.
That song always reminded me of my dad. He was a huge Neil Diamond fan. And I know others have sang that song, but that was the version I always grew up listening to, and when it was his time, that was the song he was playing. I've sung that song to my kids as their babies, which is how my kids know it so well. Okay. When we conceptualize his death, we sometimes try to perceive what it would be like to be without someone, always fearing the worst. Because my dad's health declined in his last few years, we knew this time would come sooner than later, though we hoped it would come later. I never expected the gaping wound that my father's passing has left, and how much sorrow I would feel. The easiest way I know how to convey my dad's influence on me is through the lessons he taught me. My dad taught me strong work ethic. Growing up, my dad worked hard. He was always gone by the time the kids woke up in the morning, often leaving before 6 a.m. each day. I could always count on waking up early if I wanted some alone time with my dad, knowing that he would be there, and sitting at the kitchen table with his coffee. My dad would also take me along to job sites during the summer. I would pick scraps of aluminum siding, soffit, and fascia as he threw them down from the scaffolding. He would always have a boombox playing his oldies station. And of course, there was always a dog in tow. I would look forward to the lunch break, which is where I developed my love for gas station hot dogs. A coconut hot dog was the go-to lunch for us, and it was the highlight of every day. My dad taught me respect for women. Growing up with 3 sisters, there was always some kind of drama in the house. As kids do, sometimes disagreements would turn physical. I learned to never hit girls, and I remember him drilling that into me. You never hit girls. And from a very, very young age. It's something I've passed on to my boys. Yeah. This respect for the feminine also translated to elevating them above dirty work. When I would complain about taking out the garbage or mowing the lawn, he would tell me these are boys' jobs. Sorry, sons. These will always be the things that you do. Like his father, my dad absolutely adored his bride. He thought she walked on water and never spoke a bad word about her. He honored her through his life by providing and ensuring her every need was addressed. He did this in his entire marriage. His dedication and devotion to his angel is an inspiration. In fact, I didn't know it until in the last week, but that's what her contact was named, was Angel 1. I don't know if we had a second one, but... My dad taught me the importance of family. During our younger years, he coached us, mentored us, and spent a lot of time with us. I never really understood how much he did until I became a parent myself. The practices, drills, time traveling, and coaching took so much effort. He never complained about it, but seemed to revel in the opportunity. I have also taken to coaching and found the joy in it that he found. I've coached all my kids at one point in their various sports. I use my dad as an example for stepping up when few others do. Also, my dad cared for his parents for his entire life, adult life. I would often go over on a Saturday and Sunday mornings to my grandpa's house with him, so he could visit, and he'd send us kids out to the lawn or the yard to mow the lawn or shovel the walks. He did this faithfully every single weekend. Near the end of his parents' lives, he was there to ensure they were cared for. My grandma struggled with mental illness, and he never gave up on her, and he was proud of the way that he was able to communicate with his mom and reach her when even her husband couldn't. My dad taught me patience. On summer weekends, my dad would load up the boys, sometimes the girls, and my grandpa and go fishing. Of course, we were routinely on the road by 5 a.m. so that we could get to the lake before sunrise. His ideal time would be to launch the boat just about as light was breaking. We would sit on a fishing hole for hours without a bite. Being young, I wanted constant action, but we were bait fishermen. We rarely shouldered anything else. When I asked if we could move, or if I could reel in and check my bait, he said, just be patient. And more often than not, I don't really, after he would say, be patient, I don't really remember catching many fish after that. But it taught me to live in the moment. It taught me to just be. As an adult, I've taken my kids fishing too. It is not easy to try and deal with rigging lines constantly, dealing with snags, false bites, and broken lines. My dad never showed stress during these times and exhibited incredible patience. My dad taught me love for animals. I cannot think of the time in my life when we did not have a dog. In addition to dogs, we had gerbils, birds, turtles, lizards, cats, and countless fish. This love of animals is also what got my dad into trouble. Early during his marriage to my mom, he had a dog that was a German Shepherd mix named Bruno. Bruno was probably his favorite dog. On a fishing trip to Wyoming, Bruno was stolen out of the cab of his truck in Rock Springs while they were inside a diner eating, and that was on the drive home. He was absolutely devastated. They ended up staying the night and posting lost posters to try and track Bruno down. They were unsuccessful. When he got home, he posted ads back in the local newspaper. He did everything possible to find that dog. One day, a week or so later, one of the guys on my dad's work crew spotted Bruno in the back of a truck driving on I-15 and took down the license plate number. It was a Wyoming plate. My grandpa had a contact at the police department in Green River. He called and was able to identify the address for the license plate. It was also in Green River. The next Friday, my dad and a couple of friends loaded up into his truck to get Bruno back. As they were pulling into Green River that evening, they were immediately pulled over by the police. The police got his driver's license and registration. After inquiring about what their plans were, the officer let him go and told them that they didn't want any trouble. It was getting on later in the night. 5 minutes later, they were pulled over again. They got my dad out of the truck, handcuffed him, and arrested him. Apparently, my dad's driver's license was expired by a month. He was taken to the jailhouse. He was given the option to pay $50 in bail or spend the weekend in jail until he could get arraigned the following Monday. He was allowed to go talk with his buddies that were waiting outside in his truck and managed to pull together the $50 in cash. He was released and told to immediately leave town and that he could not drive home. After this event, my dad surmised that the guy that took Bruno had connections in the police department and that my dad was arrested to protect him. No charges were ever filed and we did not have a record. This last story was told to me by my dad in the hospital over the last 2 weeks. The weird thing about it is he never told any one of us kids before that time. I think he was slightly embarrassed by it. During the conversations in the hospital, he also told me about his fond memories of the Virginia trips. He told me it was the happiest things he ever did in his life. My dad had a faith in my ability to build a better life for myself. Though we were not destitute, there were some times that money was short and we had to count every penny. However, all of our basic needs were always provided for. My dad wanted me to expect more out of life and to focus on bettering myself constantly. I was always expected to go to college, and he did everything he could to make that happen for me. He supported me and taught me to never settle for good enough. At the end, I also got to talk to him about what he thought about death and what comes after. His religious views changed later in life. Though he expressed his abiding faith in God, and we will all be together again one day. We agreed that life is meaningless without hope. Dad, I love you. I miss you. And now having you here leaves a giant void in my heart. Your influence on me and my family is profound, and I look forward to being with you again.
I was hoping that they would cover everything, but they missed a huge gap.
That was on purpose. That was for you.
Different from Brad, I remember always looking my dad straight in the eye at third base, not first.
Well, I was coaching on it.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And I was coaching you. I wasn't playing.
And let me straighten out Aaron's story. I remember always hunting them out fishing. I don't know if he would always just set my pole to catch the fish. But dang it, Dad. He was supposed to be superhuman. I always grew up thinking he could do anything. I never saw the guy in pain. This is why we're here now. Because I never saw it. Me being the baby of the family, that's what I am. Apparently, they told me that on Monday that I'm the most emotional out of his kids. So I'm just a big baby, but, you know, being the youngest in the family definitely had its perks. I could blame anything on the older children and they would instantly get in trouble. But I feel like later in his life, I was able to spend more time with him. And I know some of my siblings resented that about me. But man, I'm grateful. He was my daddy. He was everything. I always remember him going to work early and him coming home late up until the point where I started playing sports, and especially softball, and then everything changed. He'd go in extra early, so he'd get off and take me to practice or take me outside and work on my arm, which he later regretted one time at practice. He kept telling me, "Throw hard, Jay, throw hard." And so I threw the ball hard, and he wasn't looking. It popped him right in the eye. I've never seen a big man go down so quick. Fell on his butt, cracked his eye open. Done that twice to him. When I was 12, he expected me to show no pain. I was playing third base. He told me to cover a bunt, and I knew the girls didn't even bunt, but you know, I listened to Dad. And so I went up. I was super close to the batter, and she swung instead of bunting. The ball came, smashed my ankle, and broke it. But you know, I didn't go to the doctor like him, or you know, like he never did either. But we never knew it was broken, so I played all summer on a busted ankle. And I wish I was that tough now. So softball was more than sorry. I told him I could get through this, I could do this, because I owed it to him. Softball, we had some awesome memories. when I got my scholarship to Colorado. If I wanted to come home for the weekend and I didn't want to drive, he would drive up and pick me up and bring me home. And jam into No Diamond the whole way. And I don't know how many times, Mom, we almost got in a wreck because he was looking off to the side at the deer instead of watching the road. But he was awesome. His laugh in that moment was just, it's so infectious. The downside about having him coach me, and Brad knows this, and Aaron knows this, and was that I always got yelled at in the car for the team's mistakes and my mistakes and everything. So my mom told me to pretend like I was asleep, so he wouldn't do that. My relationship with my dad was truly special. I was quite selfish because I never wanted it to end. But I wanted, if there's anything that I wanted to point out to him, and I know he sees it now, is just what he did for everybody. I have had so many people, Mom, reach out to me from the softball community. So many. They actually are going to dedicate a tournament after him. I'm going to truly miss seeing him at the ball field. Keeping score for Cadence, telling her to throw the dark one. And giving her the thumbs up through the fence. He came to all of Bo's games up until this last year. He came to all the Cadence's games as much as he possibly could. And later he never complained about pulling this big wagon around with his oxygen. He just went happy as could be, just so we could be there and support us. I know for a fact that every single one of his grandchildren meant the world to him. I talked to him about every single one. Different things stand out for each one of you. You guys were truly his joy later in life. He's gonna miss the football games, the dance recitals. And I know you're thinking, what, Dad really likes dance recitals. He truly did, as a grandpa, he truly did. I don't know if he did when Brooke was dancing, but, oh man. I just wanna point out that my son, Bo, I think my dad had a special connection with him. I always thought because it was me. But he just always loved Bobo. It doesn't help the fact that he looks just like my dad. But as he was letting go on Monday, he made the comment that, tell Bo I'll be there every game now. And I'll be in the outfield. And my mom says, you're going to be our angel in the outfield. And Cadence, she had a lot of games this week. High school, I'm going to brag for a second, but because of what he helped me with, start our team, she is a freshman starting varsity. She's doing awesome. And I feel like we got robbed from him going to her games. Like, he should be there. But miracles happened on Monday, and she had a game Monday. And Kim called us, get up to the hospital right now. Doctors want to talk to us. So doctors talked to us. They said, it's not good. You guys need to go say your goodbyes. Because of this COVID, kids 18 and under couldn't go in to see him. And we were very limited on who could go in. We were able to sneak Miranda in for a blessing. But Miranda and I were debating, okay, wait, Cadence has a game, and she might miss her opportunity to say goodbye to him. What do we do? And all the other grandkids FaceTimed, and I'm like, man, what should we do? We're just gonna let her play. That's what my dad would want us to let her play. And then miraculously, I got this text saying Cadence's game was canceled because of wind. So she was able to say goodbye. In his last moments, though, he was asking, he wanted to make sure that she would play that game, and it was being made up. So when's the game? And Kim said Wednesday. And she's gonna play, and yeah, okay. You know, he didn't want anything to be canceled for her. So yesterday, you know, she had 4 games in a row. I know I'm rambling on. Yesterday, she played amazing. Went 4 for 4 with 3 RBIs and a double. Pitched the JV game, struck out 5 out of 6 in 2 innings. The first person I wanted to call was my dad. So I'm gonna miss him. The last thing I want to say is, I know he would want me to say this, is I want to say thank you to Rachel, Michelle, John, Rand. I know he truly wouldn't have left us if he knew we weren't in good hands. The way you guys have taken care of us this last week, it's amazing. And the way you've allowed us to take care of our mom, the way that he would want, amazing. So thank you. I can't wait to see him again. But I know he's rocking his Tom Selleck mustache right now. Chloe, she says he probably has a 10-pack. So that would be a little bit different for me. I told Rand I'm gonna fatten him up because I need a big papa belly to hug. And he definitely has his eyebrows trimmed, okay, Chloe? But I just want to say thank you to everybody that's paid tribute to him. It really means a lot, because I really think in the end of his life, especially with this COVID, he didn't know how much people cared about him and loved him. So thank you all for being here. I love you, Dad. You will always be my daddy. And I leave these things with you in the name of Jesus Christ, amen. My son Bo's on the program, but he probably won't be joining this one. He's a little too emotional, so thank you.
I don't sing, I play, but I want to dedicate this one to Bragg. He loved this song, and you know, as you hear the lyrics, you'll understand why. Little boy in a baseball hat stands in the field with his bat and bat. Says, I am the greatest player of them all. Puts his bat on his shoulder and tosses up his ball. And the ball goes up and the ball comes down. Swings his bat all the way around. The world's so still you could hear the sound. The baseball falls to the ground. Now the little boy doesn't say a word, picks up his ball. He is undeterred. Says, I am the greatest there has ever been. And he grits his teeth and he tries it again. And the ball goes up and the ball comes down. Swings his bat all the way around. The world's so still you can hear the sound. The baseball falls to the ground. He makes no excuses, he shows no fear. He just closes his eyes and listens to the cheers. Little boy in a baseball hat picks up his ball, stares at his bat. Says, I am the greatest, the game is on the line. And he gives his all one last time. And the ball goes up like a moon so bright. Swings his bat with all his might. The world's so still he can still his beat. And the baseball falls, and that's strike three. Now it's supper time, and his mama calls. Little boy starts home with his bat and ball. Says, I am the greatest, that is a fact. But even I didn't know I could pitch like that. Says, I am the greatest, that is understood. But even I didn't know I could pitch that good.
I think that was my dad's very, very favorite song. I almost like to think that Kenny Rudd just wrote it for my dad. It's going to be a hard song to listen to now. I'm not gonna lie to you. We're going to be ending our program today with Cadence giving us our closing prayer. But before we give the closing prayer, I want to let everybody know that we will be heading after the closing prayer to the Alpine Cemetery. And I'm not prepared because I don't have the address. Sorry. Okay, here we go. The Alpine Cemetery, actually it's not even on the program either. Okay, sorry. Huh? Okay, you'll just follow the procession, but it's just straight up Main Street in Alpine. Four-way stop, make a right, and you can't miss it. We will go ahead and do the grave dedication there. Randy will be doing the grave dedication. And then after that, as you pass on Main Street in Alpine, there's going to be a park there. We've actually reserved the park there, and everybody is invited to come. We asked my dad in his final hours, what would he like us to serve in remembrance of him? And just like what Aaron mentioned in his talk, he wants hot dogs. So in true fashion, we're going to make this day about my dad, and we We got a barbecue, and we've got my potato salad that he loved, and hot dogs, bratwurst that he liked. So we've also gone through and prepared some of his favorite desserts. So everybody's invited if you can make it. We'd sure love to have everybody there. Thank you very much. Address is 375 Grove Street. But guess what? You guys can all Google it too. It's okay. So Cadence, do you want to come up and give the closing prayer?
Our Father in heaven, we're sorry to gather here today as friends and family grieve the loss of our grandfather, Papa, and Father. We ask at this time that we will feel peace and comfort at this time, and that we will feel the love of family, and that we will feel the love that Papa has for us, and that he knows that we all love him and miss him so much, and that he has impacted our lives so much. Father, we ask these things, and we say these things in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ, amen.